America was on fire with dot-com businesses doing incredibly well. Amazon was leading the charge. And I'd visited the States quite a lot and thought, my next business is going to be a dot-com. So I'd set this business up. It was an online e-tailer of gift gadgets and big boys toys. And we did, we produced catalogs that we'd send out, mail out to customers that would drive people to the website where they would then purchase the product. And this thing was growing crazy in terms of its sales. Wasn't making a lot of profit, wasn't particularly profitable, but it was recruiting customers like crazy. But the overheads were also quite heavy. It was intensive. I was working very long hours, 12, 13 hour, 14 hour days, going to bed at 1 or 2 in the morning and getting back up and going at it again, 7, 8 in the morning. And that was the routine for a very long period of time. I had a Porsche sports car, soft top, and I was coming home from work one evening, about 7 o'clock in the evening. It was a balmy summer's evening. I remember it had been raining a couple of days before. The roads were a little bit greasy. But what I hadn't reckoned on as I was coming around this corner was that there'd been an oil spill in the road. A lorry had spilt its load. And as I came round, my car slid ever so slightly on the oil, but it hit the curb. It just touched the curb. And because the car had been set up to go on tracks for track days, which I enjoyed, I love track days, the suspension was very solid. The tyres were very low profile. It all was the worst combination for inducing a spin as it hit the curb and the back end spun, took the car into a spin. We weren't going super quick, 35 miles an hour, maybe 40 tops. And as the car spun, it came to stop when it hit the lamppost. So it hit a lamppost side on. So as you're watching me now on this video, you wouldn't be able to see my face as I'm sitting driving the car because there was a lamppost right in front of me and literally where my crutch is. So what had happened is the car had hit its side on, lamppost had come through into the car. And of course, where my legs and crutch are, you got a solid lamppost. So it split my legs straight in two, both my femurs, tops of my legs, broke them cleanly in half. And it split my pelvis and then caused a few internal injuries and broke my hand. My hand was broken against the steering wheel. The car was a real mess. And one thing I haven't said before, but, I remember the very last word that I said before I hit the lamppost. It's, I remember just going, oh, fuck. As I sat there, really slowly, really calmly, I just knew there was nothing else I could do. And that was going to be it. Whatever was going to happen next was going to happen. And it span and hit the lamppost, as I say. And then I'm sitting in the car thinking, wow, the pain, the adrenaline must have been so high because I wasn't that aware of the pain immediately on impact. I was able to make a phone call that I noticed on LinkedIn. My old PA, who I haven't seen for 25 years, put a note on there in response to me posting about this fairly recently saying, I remember the phone call. And I phoned her and said, look, I'm in a bad accident. You'll need to start making people aware. Wife and people like that. The next thing I knew was a friend came on the scene, bizarrely. He'd been driving in that area and he saw this broken wreckage of a car that had just you could tell it had just happened. He come running over, realised it was me, and he looked inside the car and I remember him saying, leave it with me. I'll speak to Karen, your wife, and tell her you've got a broken ankle. I thought it was smart, don't get her too worried because she was pregnant. She was 7 months pregnant at that point with our third child, Jen. Anyway, while I was in that car, the paramedics came fairly quickly. Fire crew came very quickly, and they set about trying to cut me out the wreckage. The problem was the way the accident happened, the wreckage was all over the place and it had trapped my left leg, which was, this is going to sound very gory now, so apologies to any listeners, watchers. You could see the sole of my foot. I could see the sole of my foot and my left foot, and it was trapped and it was underneath wreckage. And they could not. They tried lots of things. They could not get this piece to come free. They couldn't get the acetylene close to it to cut the metalwork because the petrol pipe was right there. And they had a Porsche specialist who came over immediately. Just again, I think it was a fluke by chance, and he was the one saying, "You can't cut there. That's the fuel pump right on that area." So as I was sitting there, 20 minutes, half an hour, the paramedic who'd wired me up had turned to a colleague. She was holding my hand, and she turned to a colleague and whispered. She didn't realise I could hear her. And she said, "He's got his heartbeat's gone to 18 beats a minute. He's gone." And in that moment, I remembered thinking I'd been quite fit up to this point. I was a black belt at karate. I trained every week. I took classes, and I'd kept myself very fit. And I'd got a very low, naturally low resting heartbeat. So fit plus a naturally low resting heartbeat. My resting heartbeat was 46 beats a minute, something that they wouldn't have known. And I'm thinking to myself, trying to put a positive angle on this at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, you could add about 15 to 20 to that, to the 18 beats, because I'm already 15 to 20 below probably the average person that they think I am. So it was just a way of trying to boost my own confidence, really, I suppose, in retrospect. But so that gave me a bit of confidence. And then I said to myself, I'm going to hold on for 10 more seconds. By now, the pain was beyond anything I could describe. But equally, it was the tiredness was equal to the pain. I wanted to go to sleep. I wanted to close my eyes. My eyes were going. I just wanted to shut my eyes and sleep. But the pain was so intense, it almost kept me from doing that. And I thought, I could let go, but I'm going to hold on 10 more seconds. So I counted 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, until I got to 0. And I thought, I can do 10 more seconds. So I counted again, and I counted again and again. And I counted for, at that point, probably at least another half an hour, because it was about an hour before they got me out the wreck. I just kept counting down, 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds. And they got me out because they something I found out afterwards, and again, I haven't shared this before. My best friend was next to the doctors at the hospital that were waiting to get me off the ambulance when I came in, and he was next to them, and they were taking calls, and they were talking to each other, and they gave the okay from the hospital to cut my legs off with using the acetylene type equipment. I'm guessing that's what it was. So they pulled it up against the car, and I remember that. I remember it being there, pulling it up, and they gave the okay. The one fireman, this was like out of a movie at this point, a great big fireman came over, and he was saying, no, 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 like this. And he came over. And he, sorry, because he saved my life, so, you know. And he said no, he wanted another go at trying to get this piece of metal off my leg, and he leaned into the wreckage of the car, and he grabbed it, and he just let out this absolute incredible scream that I'll never ever forget. And I don't think he thought he would get the metal off, but he did. He pulled it off, and my leg came free. And the same paramedic who thought I'd gone shouted, "We've got him!